Hello, welcome to my Sunday Front. So yesterday we had done all this work, opening a new book, and I had to go and fact check some of these things, right? And I also wrote a new entry, so you can see this was yesterday, this is today, so you guys can see. And then it goes on for a couple pages, but of course, like, I had to fact check some of these things, like I said. So like, I went to go look up Tropical Storm Sarah, and it literally said that 11 deaths had been reported. So I went back and I corrected that, and it had 50-mile-per-hour winds. So I had originally wrote that the strength was like a hurricane force. It was only a tropical storm force. And although, it had like such rainfall that caused catastrophic landslides, flash floods, and property damage, because of the winds and all the rain and the thunderstorms. It did affect these countries in the Caribbeans also, but when it made landfall, it was like Guatemala, Belize, the Mexico, the Yucatan Peninsula, Mexico, and then it went out into the Gulf of Mexico, and made like a big storm. And so they received a lot of moisture in the southern states, I think, because of that. But I did go back and add. And when I did my fact check, also, I went back and see where it says nominees. I went back to see if it was true, and it was. So I had nothing to do here. Then I had two more. And of course, I even got the names wrong, right? Remember, I put Linda M. S. Hegworth. Well, I went back and found out that it was actually Linda McMahon. You've heard of her because she's was the CEO of WWE. The first lady of WWE. That's how I know her. I don't know. If you don't know her that way, I don't know what rock you've been living under. But she was picked for the Department of Education to lead that office. And you can see here I put that down. Now the next one was Pete Hegseth. So I wrote that down, Pete Hegseth. And this was the Department of Defense. So you can write that in parentheses if you need to add stuff. And I wrote here, Netanyahu, another political leader in Israel, along with, so like right here, I have the name Yoav Gallant. So he was born overseas in Israel, but he did live in, I think, Alaska. I think if that's correct, but I just wrote his name, Yoav Gallant. So this year he was politically active. He was, in office, but it doesn't specify what office he is in right now, or if he's even actively involved in politics. The only thing I can tell you and promise you, and offer you, if anything substantial should come of Yoav Gallant ever again, would be the fact that he is in this case file of people involved at Gaza's war efforts that accumulated to a genocidal investigation. So like I said, there's 3 arrest warrants that they're not taking lightly right now. And that's Netanyahu, Yoav Gallant, and the Hamas leader. So I'm pretty sure, like, if the Hamas leader, like, whoever is in charge of Hamas that deals with Palestine specifically, they can change them up, they can switch them around. They named 2, I believe, but it seems like if they changed leaders, that they would pursue the leader of current, you know, they wouldn't pursue a past leader. Like Yoav Gallant, it looks like he stopped doing politics, so they would still pursue him because he is part of a state faction and Hamas is an organization. So therefore the leader of current status would have to be brought in and questioned because of all these allegations that they all have for practicing genocidal war at civilians in Gaza. So, and of course, Kamala Harris and Joe Biden had a fair warning. So that, you know, that seems to have ceased. You know, if anything, they stopped with their bullcrap right before the transfer of powers. I'd say it was because of ICC and major leaders, political leaders, major world leaders in power, current time. Now, I wrote this entry because, like, it weighed on my mind heavily, and I feel like you guys might want to hear it. I just got done, so bear with me. I have Zama coverage, and I know it's like, noon right now? Today there was organizations that gathered together and spoke with neighbors, families of victims, and police who directed them to continue in their effort and try to the practice of food donations. So this is the Zamas who are miners. They're underground currently. There are thousands of them. I believe this is South Africa, but the mine is called Stilfontein. It's an old mine, and they had a big, like, I think they stopped like a truck and found like supplies, and they found like, you know, like they found like MRE type supplies. They're like, what are you doing? You know, they found like mining equipment. They're like, what are you doing, bro? Why do you have a truck full of this stuff? You know what I mean? Like, it'd be like equivalent to you opening the doors of a truck and saying, you know, why do you have a tactical looking truck stacked to the brim and packed with with axes? Like, that's not gonna set off any red flags. Baby, it set off every single one. They raided all the people that had to do with mining. If you even sniffed in a miner's direction, you were held, you were questioned, and subject to arrest. And that really happened. There were several arrests done. And, you know, they had different levels and degrees of crimes that occurred. And they had different, you know, very different scenes. They had different circles. And this particular incident that I'm speaking on is one group, the main group, and the focus of the investigation at current time. And it has been spotlighted throughout the world. So I wanted to give it some time on my channel, baby. I want the red pill to hear this all, you know, in one big gulp. If you can swallow it. I know it's kind of a little bit early for this type of news. I just wanted, you know, to just lay all the facts out there on my paper and see if you guys wanted to hear, if you guys want to chime in. And, you know, this is gonna take about, they say that it could take up to 2 weeks. It could take up to a couple days to get a video inside. It could take a week, you know, to have equipment lowered. So, just so you know, it's a mine that is literally in the ground. In order to go in that mine, it's a huge, giant hole. So this is the ground that we walk on. And this would be a hole. And it is literally floors deep. And I'm not talking about a bunker. I'm not talking about a bomb shelter. Honey, it is levels. I'm talking about floors. Like you see building floors that go up. These go down. All the way down to the point where there is layers of ground, of earth, of natural resource. So you can see there's soil. There's rock, there's clay, I don't know, there's sand, who knows, and then finally there's a natural resource. And those are the layers they have to go through and penetrate through. And they use different various equipment, and that's why when the truck was stopped, they were like, what are you doing? Because they had equipment that could literally retrieve this stuff and go down and pull these resources up to where they can sell and profit. But this mine is old. This mine is an abandoned mine. It is a no longer functioning mine. That means there is zero equipment. There's zero equipment. There's zero hauling, you know, how do you call them? Wagons, and there's nothing there. There's zero light. This is really bad. This is like really bad. Everything they have, their truck supplies. And like I said, it was intercepted a long time ago. And it's like a whole process and production, and it's a whole, like, you know how I say it's a circle of people, a group, an organized effort to get this mining done, because they have to all gather resources and push all the supply down underground. And that's a big, huge task, as you can imagine. And now they want the Zamazamas to come up. So they're waiting for that to happen. and their families are nearby. The neighbors, the people concerned around the world are watching, they're videoing, they're reporting back from around the world what's exactly going on. And they have organizations that together today in the morning, they spoke to the police, and the police were like, well, what's this food thing? You sent a little bit of food here. What exactly did you expect to accomplish with this little, supply? And I guess they were kind of like concerned that it was like a sort of like a thing to where they could gain some spotlight and attention for their charity and kind of profit by highlighting the Zamas who are under scrutiny right now. And in doing so, they would exploit, the investigation. So I think that they didn't understand the donations were going to be an ongoing thing or not. And so they kind of, told them, if you're going to do that, we need it more organized. So I'm not sure if they're serious about that, and I'll explain to you why. Now, the grave condition of the miners was noted, and the situation has been ongoing as a whole. Although the police promised to take the steps, some are actually tearing down the spirit amongst those gathered in vigil, awaiting their surfacing, undermining human rights, community organizations, community leaders, and organizers who have sufficiently made connections with Zama network of close circles. So the police have actually, after they started doing raids and arrests and holding people, interrogations, all that, they did say that they were very, very, very adamant that you couldn't say anything for them. You didn't say anything against them. What they were doing was a focused thing, and they were strategically what they called smoking them out. And this is like, something you do to an animal. I don't know. I know it sounds harsh because that's the type of tone that they took when camming up and giving interview. They continue with a light tone of humanity, though a thorough undertone of kind of harsh criticism and lack of empathy. More can be done, but more should have been done in prevention of now what is already reported one death due to their dire conditions. A supply was cut off due to investigations, arrests, and raid of any illegal mining involvement and crackdown. Many have made money by the forced open mines that are without equipment, bare bones, scraping the walls for resources that earn them enough to send their families at home. Some go without seeing sunlight for lengths of time. They go without sanitary, humane working conditions and life-sustaining nourishment. As, the old miner's legend goes, they too work without dire needed supplies for work safety, hygiene, sustenance, water. And as you know, there are stigmas surrounding miners. There have always been, you know, kind of get your hands dirty type of feel that people, you know, offer them. And time again, it's, you know, felt as backlash. And for what, you know, those working conditions, yeah, you can see it on them. Because there's no light, because there's no water, there's no resource of, you know, natural resource to which to utilize. Because there's, you know, what you see on them, that's exactly what they're, you know, hauling. And for that, you know, people treat them of lesser, you know, human dignity. This is Stilfontein mine, a mine closed long ago, an abandoned gold mine in South Africa. So I'm not sure if it's South Africa. I have to look it up, but this is the name of it, the Stilfontein mine. And it was a gold mine. The miners refused to be captured, holed out. They stood side by side each other, knowing, should they, the thousands, seek aid and rely on those above, they would be penalized. These men underground sought a means to provide for their families, continue a dignified life, and pursue a living within those mines, knowing it was not just OSHA hazard, but health hazard, safety hazard. They knew it was not legal, most of all, but saw the only way out of debt was labor. Mines were closed long ago, but continued some of the victims' families. Promised their loved ones education, hot meals, and proper shelter. Taking on this type of job was way less than glamorous, but to package it as an entire network of cowardice, petty crooks who are at the bottom of the barrel and criminals was more than they signed up for, and disinformation. And I think, you know, I urge you all to find within your heart, you know, the sympathy of a worker, you know. Find something you have in common with your neighbor. Find something you haven't, you know, have struggled on, you know, as well before judging the working class, you know, because we all go through things. That's, you know, that's what humans do. That's how we live our life. Life is full of obstacles. And none of us, you know, none of us are obligated to those obstacles. None of us have to wake up every day and face them, you know, by choice. See, none of us choose to go through these things that a lot of people face. And similarly, we all do. No one's exempt from life. No one's exempt from struggling. And those obstacles, everybody reacts to them differently. And these people, they labeled and shipped out, you know, entirely as a human being. You know, they put them all in one box. They wake up and grind. They wake up every day to feed their families. They wake up every day and work to send the money back home. So long as this unfair treatment in housing, job opportunities, and food disparity continues, so will the rhetoric of slander, abuses unchecked, though unjust labels on men. Mere men, working class citizens, but citizens, or citizens without oversight in policy, in actual policy and practice, and at best, equality in the political arena, as the world hands this unfortunate group the spotlight they would never have had if it weren't for the grim death hold grip local PD actually has on him. So, a lot of people are blaming the police, but they have the families in hysterics, as you can imagine. They woke up, they wake up and realize it's not that they're not home because, they're out there working. They're not home because they're being held. They're not home because if they resurface, they will be arrested. They're not home because, well, they're stuck at work. And there's no work to be done. They're stuck at work, ailing, and, in a dire situation that many have labeled crisis. So, like I said, everybody's looking into this as a human rights issue. And the police continue to send backlash that this is criminal. Activity and organized. So this is what they keep saying, because that's their answer. But when people are begging them, they need water, they need medicine, they need food. You would think that they would respond with human gestures. To aid the ailing, deter death, prevent, loss of life, and deterioration, because that's a condition they are in. They're in deteriorating conditions. And I do mean that physically. So, right now, it's just time, patience, and resources that is needed down there. And because, like I said, it's levels down. There is zero equipment. It's abandoned. It's bare bones. Everything right now is needed. So they are sending for this equipment, for actually SNR equipment to retrieve them. So I hope you like this video. If you do, give it a like, comment, share, and subscribe, guys. And I'll see you on the next one. My son different. Bye-bye.